So, for people who don't know what to do about the end of life, what are you going to do? Are you going to have a real funeral with a casket? Are you going to cremate? Or are you going to do the latest, and I think the best that you can for a person is go to the whole body donation program. And we're so fortunate to have Melinda Elllsworth, who is Director of Donor Services at Science Care, calling in from Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome to the show, Melinda.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here again.
Yes, Melinda, we have learned so much. I tried to think back at the time before I even knew you. I really don't think I ever did anything like this. Something to do with maybe research at the University of Miami, and they talked about it. But I've been so happy to learn about what you do. And, of course, as you know, my husband and I are definitely on the science care role, and that will happen if something does happen to us. Eventually it will. I feel so relaxed and so relieved, and we thank your company for this.
Thank you. Thank you. It's such a personal decision, but such a beautiful gift for someone to give back at the end of their life, give back to help so many others through medical science and research to help patients today and in the future. It's a beautiful gift.
And people don't think about dying, and it's a beautiful gift. The only thing they think, well, now the estate has money that they're donating after my death, and that's very good. That's a beautiful gift. But what about your own body? It just seems to me, and as you said before, look, it's an individual decision, but for me it seems so foolish to take your body is dead, and what are you going to do with it? Well, you could throw it in the ocean. Or they won't let you do it here, but if you were in the ocean and you could have alligators eat you up, or you could do something. But I choose to have Science Care come, take my body, find the right place for it. It could be a cadaver, it could be parts, whatever it is, it's going to make a difference somewhere. And so I feel like I'm going to be immortal, actually.
Yeah, and that's a great way to look at it. A lot of people, when they are sort of facing these decisions for themselves, they're looking at what they can do that's positive and that has the potential to leave a lasting legacy. And this is one way that anyone, almost everyone, can participate and really impact medical science, patient outcomes today for people who are living today and for potentially future generations. Who knows what the potential outcomes are? But I have heard stories, I see stories every day from our clients that are so grateful to be able to work with whole body donor tissue. It helps them in their daily practice. It helps them to learn the newest surgical techniques. It helps them to go right into an active clinical setting and have a better outcome for patients. Maybe it's a less invasive surgical technique. Maybe it's a better implant technology. But they're actually making improvements with patients' lives, their longevity, their quality of life today.
Yes.
And it's all because of whole body donors.
Yes. Yes. Hooray. In fact, Melinda, it's rare that I speak to a doctor about, other than subjects, their specialty and what the latest scientific findings are. But now I kind of talk about Science Care, and I always say, well, when you were going to medical school, did you have a cadaver, and what was that like for you? You were a new medical student?
Yeah.
And it's, he's so positive. They have a smile on their face, and they kind of tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, we received, for example, just in the last month or so, we received some really personal and beautiful notes from medical school students who received human whole body donor cadavers to work on through their medical training, and they had lovely handwritten notes to the families about how appreciative they were of the gift and how this is what really is going to make them a great doctor, is being able to work with actual tissue and see the actual things that they're learning theoretically in the classroom. And I know for myself and my family, if I'm going to have someone perform a surgery or a procedure on my loved ones, I would really like to know that they have experience, that they have a lot of experience with different tissues and different types of bodies and human beings. And this gives me comfort personally. Even though I work for the company, I love the concept of being able to really help medical science every day.
Right, because without a real body, they have to go into medical books, pages, pictures, Now
Yeah.
we have all sorts of things on computers, but there's nothing like the real thing.
Nothing. And every human being is so individual and so unique. And what's beautiful about a program like this is, you may be a potential candidate for a whole body program with a medical school, but that's one of the smaller types of things that we do. Usually when donors come into the program, they're able to participate in many types of training and research projects. We'll try and match each donor up with as many types of projects as possible because we really want to honor the intent and the wish of each donor to really participate in medical research and training.
So what would that look like?
So, for example, imagine when the donor comes in, we look at the overall medical history of the donor, the condition of the donor, time of passing, and that type of thing. And we may say, okay, let's have this particular donor go to cochlear implant development to help people who can hear, and also heart disease stent training for surgeons, hands-on surgical training, so they can learn how to place stents appropriately. And also, let's have this particular donor work with surgeons who are learning and developing the newest knee replacement technology so people can have more active, longer quality of life. So in that particular case, you've got 3 different types of programs one donor is impacting.
Now,
it's such a tremendous gift.
Right, it really is. And you also said that sometimes you can, well, I know that you donate certain parts of a body, and then people can literally have the rest of it cremated so that they do have it in an urn if that's what they desire?
Certainly. So yes, the tissues not procured for medical research and training are right away sent to cremation, and we return the cremated remains in 3 to 5 weeks, and there is absolutely no cost to this program, including the cremation, which is a big help to a lot of people. So not only folks who want to give back to medical science and research and to help others through leaving this gift or a legacy, but it really helps the family immediately today. A funeral can cost $9,000, a traditional burial. Even a simple cremation can cost $1,500. And, sometimes that's tough for people. That's really tough for people, especially in a traumatic situation or an unexpected death. And we can help with that because this program is absolutely no cost to the family.
And I want to add to that, Melinda. By the way, I'm Anita Finley. You're listening to the Boomer Times radio shows, and Melinda Elllsworth is the Director of Donor Services at Science Care, and she's calling in from Phoenix, Arizona. Science Care has a whole body donation program. There's no cost. There's no age limits. And if you'd like a free information booklet, call toll-free 1-800-417-3747. That's 24 hours a day. It works very well with VA death benefits and funeral honors. And if you want to go on the web to learn more, go to sciencecare.com. That's sciencecare.com. So recently, as Melinda knows, we have a very close friend here where our station is in Boca Raton, and she heard that her son, who lives in North Carolina, had a devastating accident, fell from I think a 3 or 4 story building, and wound up in the hospital with not much hope to live. And after a couple of weeks, they decided that he wasn't going to live. And so I had told my friend about this because the young man really didn't have any money. I think he was in his 30s, and I don't quite remember. And it was a godsend to my friend. And she is so thankful that there was something like that. So talk about, not costing anything. And she, of course, was coming here to be with her son from Florida. She had to go up to North Carolina. So many things had to happen. But for her, after she got there and she saw the situation, it was just one easy call, and then she didn't have to worry about it.
I'm so glad that we were able to be there and to help. So the good news is Science Care is nationwide. We can accept donors from all over the country. And it's a terrible situation, a tragedy. But again, this is why we're here. We're here to help people make a wish come true. Help someone to do something good and leave that one last gift for humanity. I'm glad we were just here to be able to be the conduit and help him be able to do that. And, even with this situation where there was some trauma at the time of death, we were still able to proceed. So most everyone will qualify for the program. So please feel free to call us and talk about it and ask questions. Don't rule yourself out, because there's so much need for tissue, for medical training and research and development. It's critical that people know about the program.
Melinda, something I breezed over pretty quickly, but I started thinking about it. Whether you're local or whether you're far away, nowadays people, unfortunately, especially younger people, don't even think about making funeral arrangements. That used to be the norm as in 50 years ago, because it was just what you did. You had your funeral arrangements, your cemetery plot, and you had your life insurance. But today, I don't think that's true. Do you?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Okay.
No, absolutely not.
So now the parents or the family members are saddled with what do they do. They first have to figure out if they have money, okay, but even if they have money to pay for an elaborate funeral, they have to go make arrangements. It's not casual. It takes a lot of time, and then you're grieving. So here, it isn't anything like that. You make the one phone call, they pick up the body, and then you go about doing what you have to do for the rest of the week or whatever you're going to do to take care of the incidentals there.
That's exactly right. We have structured the program to make it as easy as possible in a difficult situation. It's a simple phone call. Within 5 minutes, we're able to determine if we can proceed with the donation. And then we will send information, consent forms, questionnaires about medical history and things like that electronically via email, so that you can complete those anywhere, on the road, on your mobile device, on your tablet. Once we get those things back, then we're proceeding with the donation and the return of cremated remains quickly. And, like you said, this is a different option, but it doesn't necessarily need to take the place of a funeral, a memorial service. Those things are important. And so we can go ahead with whole body donation, and you can focus on getting your loved ones together, grieving, having a celebration of life, those types of activities. This does not preclude that from happening.
That's right. That's what. There are really so many advantages to going this way, and I think that some people who are elder, people who are in hospice, it's obvious what's going to happen, and I hope if arrangements haven't yet been made, maybe they haven't, that you would be smart enough to call Science Care and make sure they know it's going to happen. Let me also ask you something, Melinda. So someone's in North Carolina like that, and they make that phone call. What actually happens to the body?
Sure. We work with a partner funeral home in the area. We've got a network of partner funeral homes all across the country. They'll do the immediate removal for us on our behalf. They'll make sure that the donor is carefully cared for while we're obtaining permits and death certificate documents. Once we have all of that arranged, then we're transporting that donor by flight to one of our donation centers. That could be in Colorado, it could be Florida, it could be Arizona. Once the donor is in our physical care, then we're procuring tissue for medical research and cremating the rest of the tissue to return quickly to the family.
All right, so that was a good item for you to tell us about. So there is something that you do as far as making those arrangements with someone local, and then they take the body, and then you all have a discussion, or they do what they have to do, and then it goes somewhere. So you do have, I know down here in South Florida, we know that you are in Coral Springs. And what actually is that in Coral Springs?
That is a donation center. So that's where we bring in all of the donors from the Florida area, and we are able to procure that tissue and distribute that tissue to medical research clients all over the world. Those clients then are doing their research with the tissue, and the tissue, like I said, not utilized, goes to a local crematory that we work with in South Florida for the cremation and the return to the family.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's not some place that it's not a place that people want to visit to find out information,
Well,
is it?
you can. You absolutely can. We do have a front lobby area and a family room, so feel free if anyone in the local area would like to either call us and set up an appointment or even just drop by. We do have lab manager staff available to be able to talk to you and share information about the program, so don't feel like you can't do that. It's not a hands-on surgical facility for clients per se. Like some of our other facilities, they're more state-of-the-art hands-on surgical facilities. This is just more of a donation center. But certainly families are able to come to any of our donation centers anytime and have a conversation with us.
I see. So that's good. Well, for our listeners here and for the readers of Boomer Times, we are very happy to have this organization working for us. In fact, we're very proud and privileged to have excellent people who advertise, and it's people like Science Care, because it's not fluff. It's not like you go to a fashion magazine and you just turn the pages and there are all these beautiful women and beautiful clothing. It's lots of sustenance for your life. And this is something that we are very thrilled to offer to people. It's been a missing link, even though we have had from time to time funeral homes. It was pretty narrow. I mean, you had to either want to go to that funeral home and they would make arrangements for cremation or you could buy caskets there. And I had that experience with my mother and her sisters. Oh, yeah, they all had to have their caskets and they all had to have their cemeteries. And I told this to Melinda once before. After the funeral, I've never been back to my mother's grave because I don't find her there. That's not where I am. And yet she spent a lot of money. I wish I could have taken the money that she used for that and donated it to one of the wonderful charities.
Mm-hmm. Well, and a lot of people today are, the families aren't as close-knit in location. Many families are all over the country, even all over the world, and bringing folks together on a short notice, it can prove to be a little bit difficult, a little bit challenging too. So we find that a lot of the people that work with our program, the fact that we give the remains back in 3 to 5 weeks, typically about 3 weeks, it actually gives them time to work with the family, get everyone's travel arrangements together, put together a celebration of life, and that way they can do the celebration of life with the cremated remains of their loved one on hand, although that's not necessary. But it works for modern families. You save that cost. People can focus on getting together, focus on the grieving, and being with their loved ones, which is a beautiful way to memorialize someone, is really focused on that rather than the stress and the cost of a huge burial, funeral expense and things like that.
Melinda, so where you say in your ad program works well with VA death benefits and funeral honors,
Yes.
What does that mean? What is that all about?
Well, fun little fact, 1 out of 3 of Science Care donors are veterans. And I don't know, but I really strongly believe that, veterans give their life in service. And this is one last way where they can be of service to humankind. And I love that. I think it's a wonderful way to continue to give back. In our case, I know that veterans do have death benefits. We can help provide resources to the family so they know how to follow through on those death benefits. But absolutely, you can go through the whole body donor program, receive the cremated remains, and then work with the VA on your death benefits to have the honors for the veteran, to have the placement of the ashes in a national cemetery. All of those kinds of things can still happen.
Oh, I see. Oh, I didn't know. My husband's a veteran, but we have never thought about that. I don't think he needs to be cremated. He just he's served and he just wants his body taken away, as that you have said. He was very excited when I told him about this. He was funny. He hadn't really known about this, and I said, "Guess what, Bill? I think I'd like to do the Science Care." And I told him all about it. He says, "Sounds great to me." That's all he said.
Well, it's funny because nobody knows about, really, no one really knows about whole body donation as an option. And that's why I'm on the program today. That's why I love talking to you and working with Boomer Times, because you let us tell our story and the story of all of these thousands of donors who've gone through the program in the last 14 years. Their story is so powerful, and if we could just get that out to more people, we'd be able to continue to develop the technology of medical science faster. We'd be able to impact more patients. Every year, we're able to train over 15,000 surgeons, and we'd be able to do even more of that if we could just get the word out. So I really do appreciate you allowing us to come on your program and talk about this.
Well, I really appreciate your being there and being selfish. I'm glad that I heard about you when you first came, because it didn't take me very long to know this is exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to do what my mother did in her family, and I didn't think I wanted to be burned at the stake, as they say. I didn't really want that.
It's so colorful.
I know. I have to tell you, but I thought this was perfect. They're just gonna, because I have to say this: when my mother was in hospice, and she did pass away, the nurse said, "Well, I think you ought to leave now," because I was in the room. I said, "Oh, why?" She said, "Well, I don't think it's so good for you to see your mother being taken away." And I said, "Okay," but of course now I feel differently. I feel if it were my husband, he's being taken away, and he's going to be going to do something really important. Isn't that
right.
funny? I have a weird sense of life, don't I?
No, absolutely. I mean, even in the midst of grief, I hear this every day. Our staff on the front line, our family services coordinators, they hear this every day. They're working with people who are really in the throes of grief, and yet, they're able to be positive. The families are able to be positive and feel good that they're able to fulfill the wishes of their mom, fulfill the wishes of their aunt, and do something positive, even though it is a sad event. There's such positivity and such humanity in the gift of whole body donation.
And I was thinking about the children, so sad recently, that were killed in the schools. And I just wonder what happens there. Those people probably never thought of making funeral arrangements for their children. And, and it must have been very, very sad. But I think that if people there had known about whole body, I don't know if you got a chance to take any of those children to be able to help science or not. And I know it's a kind of a sad situation to talk about, but go ahead.
I'm sorry, we do have lots of folks who pass from all different causes. A lot of people are under hospice care, they pass in the hospital, but we do have, traumatic causes of passing from our donors, and we're so happy and so lucky to be able to work with those donors and those families. In some ways, the families communicate to us, it helps them to process the grief when they know that there can be some sort of positive outcome of such a tragedy. And we're happy to be able to help facilitate that part of the healing if we can.
Yes, I think that's well put, and that's how I feel about it. So let me just reiterate all this so you have it down, and we hope that you will go to your phone or get on the internet and look them up at sciencecare.com. And their toll-free number is 1-800-417-3747. And it is 24 hours a day, so you don't have to worry if something as an emergency occurs. But the thing is, you're going to want this phone nearby. You're going to want that number somewhere. So write it down, please. Remember, this is Pencil Talk Radio. And my guest is Melinda Elllsworth. She's the Director of Donor Services at Science Care. You may not get her directly, but they have lots of nice folks there that can help you. They'll take down your name, they'll send some information to you, or if it's an emergency, they'll begin to work with you right away. So if you are here in South Florida, Coral Springs, you can go over there if you'd like to see exactly what it is. They are located there, and if you call that toll-free number, they'll make that happen for you. And their website, though, is a good place to start, sciencecare.com. You'll see it's a beautiful website. And it's, I think when you were younger, I don't know that because I didn't know you when you were much, much younger, but even though you're young. I'll finish this, then I want to talk about the Boomer Expo where you will be. But when you were much younger, did you ever think you'd be in this business?
Oh, absolutely not. No, I could never have pictured. No, but what's interesting is when I did come to the company 6.5 years ago, I was specifically looking to work with an organization that was doing good, that was helping others, directly helping others, and I found Science Care. So I'm very pleased to continue to be here.
Good. And so for those of you who are listening, we hope that you will make sure that you do come to the Boomer Expo, because Science Care will be there among many, many other people. We really have a filled house, and we're very excited about everyone. So please do that. Let's just get back to something else, which you may not know about it, and I was thinking about it, but what about pets? Do veterinarians have not live, but do they have dogs to work on? And cats? Do you know?
I don't know.
I may have opened up something for you.
That's a great question. You never know, because you know what? We love our pets like our kids, I'll tell you that.
Right. And I was just thinking about that. So what do they get to use, and what happens if your pet, a lot of us have had our pets, we've had to leave them at a hospital, and then I guess they cremate them. I don't know what they do with them, but maybe there's a way that we can think that little dog or cat we have also has some place to help society. You may want to check that out before our next conversation. Science Care, I mean, maybe your pets too. Who knows what that works on? I mean, I'd have no idea. I'm going to have to ask a pet next time. When you went to veterinarian school, what do you use? They've had to use pets.
That's a great question. I mean, I would assume it would be very similar.
Right. Well, with that, we're going to say goodbye.
All right. Thank you so much
Melinda,
for having me again.
Thank you so much. It's always a joy. Thank you. Bye.